Hi, my name is Tim Vitale, and I'm going to talk about what happens when you get a bad grade. This is for just Clearview in general for AP classes. Here we go. So in this video, we're going to talk about the first of 6 scenarios that I've basically adopted from Andrew Sharos and his workshop. And these scenarios were designed to have students really look at some realistic possible scenarios and ask themselves ahead of time before they happen, what would I do? What resources do I have? What can I do? We're going to briefly talk about grades in general, especially because I'm taking the perspective of talking to freshmen, but maybe some sophomores, juniors, and seniors need to hear about this as well. What grade should I expect in an AP class? How do I deal with a bad grade? How do I deal with multiple bad grades? So let's look at the scenario. I'm an AP student who received a 43% on my first unit exam. I've never failed a test this badly before. The test was 2 periods long, 1 day for multiple choice, 1 day for free response, and it had questions from old units on it. This is a unique situation for me, and I am uncomfortable with this result. Now, this scenario is something that has happened to some of my students. Maybe not exactly the 43 number, but something close to that. So it's a realistic possibility, and the question is, and you should maybe pause this video, ask yourself, what would I do? Not only just like answering, saying freak out and cry or whatever, but what steps would you take afterwards to make sure that this resolves itself? Or, who would you talk to? What would you say to your teacher? What would you change in terms of studying or asking questions or practicing more problems? So pause the video real quick and think about it. Okay. Let's talk about grades. Grades are meant to show how much you've learned. Now, I could get on a whole hours long video about grades. I'm going to try to keep it brief, as it says, but grades are just meant to show how much you've learned. It's supposed to show teachers and other people that are looking at your grades, what's going on in the class. Some people, they don't do well in tests, and so their grades don't actually accurately show how much they've learned. There's a lot of issues with grades, but the thing is, we use them, and so they're here for now. In fact, there's some places that are doing away with grades, and they're just looking at portfolios and basically internships, which I think is super cool. But for now, we have grades and we have to live with them. There are pressures from many sides to get good grades. I've felt that pressure as a high school student, or even before that, as a student. I've felt pressure from myself, from my friends, from my parents, from my sibling. I felt pressure to be the best and to always get hundreds and A's and all of that, and it can be crippling sometimes. And I've cried about it. I've screamed and pounded the floor when I was in 6th grade, just of all the homework I had to do, and it's frustrating. It's hard. I'm put this here to acknowledge it. I'm not trying to just say it's easy to be a high schooler and to just be okay with not having good grades. I get it. There's a lot of pressure there. But one thing I really want you to think about is just what amount is worth getting a good grade. So, for example, I've known some students that have really struggled with test anxiety, just generalized anxiety, depression, struggles with self-worth because when they don't get an A or 100, they feel less than, they feel stupid, they feel like everyone else is doing much better than them and that they're just, the worst. And there's a lot of causes for that. We can go into that later, but for now, and I'm not trying to diagnose anybody or anything like that, but I just want you to reflect and ask yourself, if you're crying every day or every other day, or you're so stressed, you're so upset, you really need to talk to somebody. Number one, talk to someone you trust, talk to a therapist, talk to a guidance counselor, talk to your parents. But Number two, you need to make some changes because you shouldn't be living your high school life like that. Don't get me wrong. Things are going to be stressful. You're going to cry. There's going to be times when you're upset. You're a teenager. But you have to ask yourself, what is worth getting A's? Is it worth every night being upset and sad and feeling worthless? Or are you going to be okay with getting a B? Because getting a B is great. I know there's a lot of people that say that that's not, including maybe yourself. But in my opinion, as a physics teacher, getting a B is great, especially in AP Physics 1. But anyway, you have to ask yourself that. And then there are other options too, which is like switching classes. Like you don't have to be in an AP class. If it's crippling you, if it's making you really unhappy, you being happy and being not depressed and not crying and not anxious is going to be better for your overall health. It's going to improve your other grades. It's going to make you feel better throughout high school than to be putting yourself through something for what? For a grade, for a couple credits in college. It's really not worth that. So just please think about that. And always, always, always talk to someone when you're feeling this way, because you can't be alone. You can't do it alone. And if you don't feel like you can talk to a friend or your family, you have the guidance counselors here at Clearview. You have your teachers who understand this kind of stuff. So please reach out to somebody. The reality of the impact of grades is something that I always try to tell my kids, because I think it helps alleviate this idea of this pressure of getting hundreds all the time. And the thing is this, getting good grades can help you get certain things like scholarships, like getting into schools, etc. However, getting good grades is not, and by good, I mean like getting A's on everything, getting hundreds on everything, that is not needed to be successful in life. That's a fact. It's not. First of all, you guys already know there's plenty of celebrities and people that are, super rich and super powerful that have never gotten good grades. Some of them dropped out of high school. Some of them never went to college or dropped out. I'm not even talking about those people, because some of those people are super crazy, smart, or got really lucky. And those are kind of like anomalies. I'm talking about everyday people. If you just go into anywhere, like the doctors, or if you go to a lawyer's or anybody, like, just walking down the street, you just see somebody that's a businessman or a businesswoman, or, somebody managing a store. Like all these people that have all these different jobs, even like people that have medical degrees and things like that, they didn't always get hundreds all the time, or even A's. And it's just not a realistic expectation to expect yourself to get A's and hundreds all the time. I graduated second in my class when I was in high school, which means I did actually get A's all the time. I got one B for like one marking period, and it upset me, but the truth is that that's what happened in high school. When I got to college, I got a couple B's. I think I got a C or two, and I actually had to withdraw from 2 classes because I was failing them. And I consider myself a pretty smart guy, and that's what happened when I went to college. And it's okay. I'm still here. I have a great job, and it's the reality is, at a certain point, your grades become less and less important, and it's more about when employers are trying to hire you, because that's the whole point of grades, right? To get into a college so you can get into a good career, right? When employers are hiring you, they're not going to say, what did you get on that, class in freshman year? Or they're not even going to ask you for your high school transcripts. It's all about what can you do, how skilled are you, and how much experience do you have? So what you should be doing is collecting skills, practicing things like studying and asking questions, and then also collecting experiences, signing up for internships, exposing yourself to all these different things that you could be doing. That I think is more important than getting hundreds on every single thing. And trust me, unless you're doing something that's so crazy that you need to be. It's like super, super competitive, like this very specific doctor thing. Like getting hundreds on everything is not, you don't need to. Even getting A's on everything is not needed. It's okay to get a B or even a C sometimes. They're still passing. And don't forget, this is a college class, which I'm going to talk about in a second. What grade should you expect in an AP class? What grades are you used to getting? A's? Then you could probably expect yourself to get an A or maybe a B or maybe a C. Getting hundreds in an AP class is just not a norm. And that's in any AP class, I think. I guess it depends on the teacher. But you basically should be getting what it is that you think you'll be getting on an AP test. So if you get a 5 on the AP test, you should be getting an A. If you're going to get a 4, that should be about a B. A 3 should be about a C. So if you get a C in the class and you get 3 on the exam, you're still passing. That's great. How much extra effort are you putting into the class? It's an AP class. You're going to have to put in more effort than you've ever put in another class before. So are you putting in that extra effort? Then maybe you can expect to have more of a B or an A. Are you not putting in any extra effort? Maybe it's a B, an A, or a C. Are you putting in less effort for some reason? Maybe it's a C or a D. Remember, it's a college class, so what you put in is going to be like if you were actually in college. So if you get a B in a college class as a freshman or a sophomore or senior or even junior, it's fine. That's awesome. A B in a college class, that's great. Now, here's the thing. How do I deal with a bad grade? Here's some steps I'd like you to take. And by the way, I have bad in quotations because I don't consider a lot of things that you consider a bad grade. I've spoken to lots of students and parents, and some of you guys consider a 92 a bad grade. Some of you consider an 88 a bad grade. Some of you consider an 83 a bad grade. So I put bad in quotations because this is to you. What does a bad grade mean to you? So let's say, how do you deal with that bad grade? Number 1, review the assignment that you got the bad grade on and any feedback that you got. So comments from the teacher, rubrics, and scoring guides. And do it independently. Do this at home or do this in class. Just look at it and ask yourself. Really reflect and say, what did I do wrong? Ask yourself first, all right? Then speak to the teacher through an email or in person if it's possible. Ask the teacher, what happened? What can I do differently? Ask specifically what you can do to improve for next time. It's okay to ask a teacher for help. Speak to a supportive friend or family member about it. Remember, talking about AP communities, everyone's in this together, and the odds are if you got a bad grade, there's definitely a couple other people, if not many other people, who got bad grades, if not worse grades. So talk to them. How do they feel? You're all in this together, your community. How do I deal with multiple bad grades? So what I mean is, sometimes you get one bad grade, right? Maybe it's the first test you take. In this scenario that we just talked about, it was the first unit test. That's okay. You're getting used to the class. You're going to adjust. So one bad grade is one thing, but what happens if you continue to get bad grades? It's okay to be upset, cry, be frustrated, yell, curse in your room, into a pillow, do what you need to do. But when you've calmed down, reflect on what you think that root cause is. Do you feel like the teacher isn't giving you enough, or they're not teaching you well enough? I know that some students feel that way. Or maybe you just don't understand and you're not asking questions, or you're not coming after school, or you're not asking for extra help, or you're not doing the readings. What is it that's really holding you back? And be honest with yourself. Don't blame other people because you're upset. That's why I said be upset first and then reflect, because it might be the teacher, or it might be that you feel like you should get an A because you show up every day. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be mean, but there are students that genuinely struggle because they're trying really hard and they don't understand. There's also students who feel like they should get a good grade because they've always gotten a good grade. So ask yourself, what is it that I'm not doing? Or what is the root cause? Maybe it is the teacher, maybe it's the environment, maybe something's going on at home. What do you think is the cause of these bad grades? And then speak to the teacher about it. If you feel like the teacher's not doing a good enough job, you need to talk to them about it. If you feel like you're not doing a good enough job, ask the teacher, what do you think I should be doing to help? then you can talk to a guidance counselor, and they help too. They're really helpful. This is their job. Talk to them about it. They might have a different perspective than the teacher does. If you don't feel comfortable talking to the teacher, you can talk to the guidance counselor. The reason why I put the teacher first is because I want you to give the teacher an opportunity to help you. Sometimes if you go right to the guidance counselor, the teacher is like caught off guard and they're like, I didn't even realize anything was wrong. So I think you should give the teacher a heads up first. Make some adjustments or changes. So if you feel like you're not doing well because you honestly haven't been doing the readings, you thought you could skip them because you used to be able to skip them in 8th grade, but now it's different, start reading and see if that helps. Maybe you think it's the teacher. Talk to the teacher. Maybe the teacher can make some adjustments on their behalf. Or maybe you feel like you shouldn't be in an AP class. So switch out to an honors or a different class, or drop it entirely if you're an upperclassman, and just see how that goes. How do you feel afterwards? You can't continue to, you can continue to get bad grades, and that's the other thing. Make adjustments or changes. Adjustments in expectation maybe. Maybe you're expecting to get A's and now you're getting B's, but you're getting solid B's. Well, maybe you need to adjust your expectation and say, I'm going to get a B in AP Physics 1, and that's okay. Keep checking in with teachers, family, guidance counselors, yourself, etc. You want to make sure everyone's on board and everyone's supporting you. And if you're okay with getting B's and your family's okay with getting B's and your teacher thinks that you should be getting B's, then maybe that's where we're at. Or maybe if you feel like you should be getting at least a B and you're getting C's, the teacher should be supporting you, your family, guidance counselors. You should be doing what you need to be doing to get there, and keep checking in. That's it for this, and I hope that helped you a little bit with, hopefully not, but your first bad grade in AP.